Hey friends, welcome to a new video here on the L&M channel. Today we're going to be going through a techo time, a journal with me session that I did a couple weeks ago, where I was just interacting with the pages in my cousin, which is my magpie journal if you're new here. Basically, I deconstructed my hobonichi cousin, put it in rings, and have been using it as a mixture of commonplace and also a space for me to put all of my digital ephemera, everything that I'm interacting with. It's essentially a journal where I am focusing on capturing all of the things that I am paying attention to. And so what ended up happening is that the last two techo times were sort of a play on each other. They kind of went through how it is that I journal in this notebook, and I don't want to say a how-to, and I don't want to say that that's how I approach it every single time. Really, this journal has become a place where it's just intuition based, and you can kind of see that here, so that's what I wanted to kind of showcase. The first video went through how I use my obsidian to inform what I put in the pages, and then the second video informed, or rather was focusing on how I use the images that I collect and the fan art that I collect, the photos, the songs, all of the different forms of media that I collect, to then play and be in conversation with some of those quotes or essays or concepts or topics that I have been paying attention to throughout the time period. And so all of these things that I'm paying attention to start to kind of speak to each other and build this narrative. It just shows a different aspect of my life that isn't necessarily just the day-to-day things, which is captured in my Our Studio journal, which I use as a joy journal. I think it's pretty common. I've heard a lot of people talk about how in the beginning of the year, it's a lot simpler to kind of have this consistency that is in line, if you use dated planners, at least in line with the dates that are on the journals that you're using. And I do think that is the case for me. I think I was much more on time when journaling at the beginning of the year. So I was journaling within the month that the pages were in. At this point, there is somewhat of a backlog in this journal, and during this session, I was primarily working on June and July pages. I still haven't even started touching August pages yet. I do plan on doing that in the next couple of days, but I haven't really sat down to do that. This season of life right now is really busy. I've been doing a lot of workshops, courses, and with the two jobs, it's just two, well, what, I don't know. I don't even know how many jobs I have. It's two main jobs. I often get told I have like 6 jobs, but yeah, it's been really busy, and so it makes it so that I am not as on top of these pages as I had been in the beginning of the year, but that is not a problem for me because, again, this journal has sort of morphed into being something a little bit different than even what I intended to in the beginning of the year. Even though I am journaling about similar things, I think that the way that I'm approaching it has evolved, and I'm quite enjoying the process. And that's really what matters at the end of the day, right? That you enjoy the process. It's not, you're not being whistled at. You're not in a regiment that says you have to be journaling every single day. You have to be on time. You can't be backlogged. It's all a journey. It's a hobby. It's fun. I think that there's definitely aspects of my journaling that I would need to capture in the day-to-day, because if not, I will forget. But anything that's like that, I capture in my daily log, which doesn't really have many photos or things like that. And I'm capturing... This journal is essentially just a place for me to externalize and kind of see in front of me, mirror back to me, the things that I'm already collecting on a day-to-day basis. So it's not like I'm losing anything by not being on top of it every single day. And as it just happens that when I have to print things, printing is something that delays me. And I'm sure that that's something that happens to a lot of people too. And again, it's okay. I don't mind. It's really fun to kind of see how these sessions kind of manifest. And the really cool ways that pages are made, because there's some distance and you get to kind of play around with how you place things and where you place them and how the elements interact with each other. I think that it's the way that you would journal on the day is definitely different than how you would a month later. And there are some kinds of journals, like again with my daily log, where that would be a problem. But in this particular journal, I quite enjoy it. There are a lot of you that are new to the channel and maybe haven't watched any of my older videos. Please don't don't go watching them now, because they obviously show, I make videos differently. The more you do something, the better you get at it. And I feel like I've gotten a lot better than when I first started. But I mentioned that because when I first started making YouTube videos, specifically the journal with me's, I had this style of video that is happening right now, where I would have part of it as voiceover, and then we'd have little musical breaks, and part of it as just journaling sounds. And so the video played out sort of like an episode of sorts. And I really enjoyed making those, but after a while, a lot of people really enjoy it without music. And so I started just not adding music to the videos, and the style changed a little bit, but I do miss making videos like this. I know that quite a lot of people prefer not having background music. But I hope that the fact that there are a variety of it and that the music isn't playing over my voice or under my voice rather is kind of beneficial. I hope that you don't mind too much. I have considered as well posting two forms of the video, one like this one that you're watching and one that is just no background music and no speaking, and then just having the two versions. Let me know if you'd like that. I don't mind doing that at all. I mean, I just have to mute the voiceover essentially. So if you would prefer having two versions, if a good amount of you say that you like that, then I will think about doing that moving forward, because again, it doesn't make much of a difference. I would have to render it twice, but it's not really much of a big deal, so I'll do that. But yeah, I think that this particular session was interesting, talking a little bit about my process and kind of like what you're seeing on screen. If we're talking about the three different phases, right, like translating from my Obsidian to my analog pages, and then translating from my phone and my computer to the analog pages, this part of it is really me kind of like bridging all of those things together and adding my brain, translating what's in my head and what I feel about the pages onto the pages themselves. And so I think that this journal is really about translating, again, the things that I am paying attention to, the things that I am enjoying, a lot to do with sort of the media that I'm consuming, but not necessarily in a traditional way. Although there are sections that I've established that I haven't gotten to yet, but I've established for reviews and such. It's more reaction based, more so than critique based, and it is definitely a memory keeping type journal. But it's a place where my high level, kind of like smarty pants, intellectual thoughts and opinions and interests get to live alongside those things that maybe other people wouldn't consider, highbrow people wouldn't consider very smart or intellectual, right? Like, I am a smart person. I like smart things. I like to read. I like to think critically. And I also love anime, and I love manhwas, and I love BL. And I just made a mistake there, and you heard it. But I like to say all the time, I have a note on my Obsidian that I want to like kind of maybe grow into an essay. But I like to say that I am an amalgamation. I am a variety of things. I'm not just, and so are you, right? Like, so is everyone. No one is, or at least most people are not single faceted. Is that the term? We're multifaceted, right? And so, yeah, you can like multiple things and they can be in contrast to each other, and that, that's fine. That's fine. And I think that this journal, one of the reasons why I love it so much is because all of those things get to live together. And I think that a lot of you guys also will agree with me, because I think that the biggest thing that people talk about when they say about this journal and they kind of like comment on it is that it looks like me, that it's full of me. And that is, I think, one of the biggest compliments that I could receive, because one of my biggest things is identity. I struggle a lot with my own self-perception and like who I am and all those things. And I think that for someone to say this journal looks like you means that I've done a good job at translating all of those things that make me me in terms of the things that I'm consuming and things that I enjoy, and have translated that into a page that then speaks for itself. And I think that is a really magical thing. I don't know if any of you guys do this, but something that I find myself doing over and over again throughout my journaling sessions is just flipping through the same pages. I do it quite a few times in the video, and I did cut out 2 or 3 times that I did it, but I think that for this particular occasion, one of the reasons I was doing it was because I was just going through and seeing what kind of spoke to me. When I mentioned earlier that it's an intuitive process, this is kind of like what I mean. I didn't know what I wanted to journal. When I went into this journal, I just knew that I wanted to respond to the pages. And so I was looking to see what pages I felt like responding to. And so that's why I tend to go in this particular session over and over and over again into different or into the same pages, kind of seeing what calls to me. I have these calendar flags that I kind of forget about these days because I have it in a place where I don't see it, and I've been using them as a form of visual interest and also textural interest in this particular journal. I really like the calendar flip ups things. I love the paper. A lot of this session, I'll talk a bit about it later, but this session took me way longer than usual, and most of it was me just sticking in these little calendar pages. There's no particular reason as to why I'm adding them other than the textural and design element, because for the most part, a lot of these pages aren't date oriented. There are, some of them are related to the date, but not a lot of them are. I really like these particular calendar flags too, just because of what they say. I've used the translator app. Unfortunately, I'm not quite there with my Japanese yet, but I really like the phases. I just like the design. I like the design quite a lot, and I like how it interacts with the pages quite a lot. So I do end up using it quite often. There are some pages though, like right here, where I don't end up adding it because I like what's on the page so much. I like every single part of it. I don't want to cover it at all, but I do quite enjoy the interactive element that it gives when, especially you are covering something up, so you have to kind of flip it. That's something I've been enjoying a lot lately, not just in this journal, but in other journals as well, as kind of playing with like different textures in my journals. And it's something that I hadn't really done last year all that much. I tend to do a lot of pasting in of fan art and pictures and images, but when it comes to paper and kind of having these textural elements and layering elements in this way, it's not something that I have much experience with, but it's something that inspires me all the time. There are a lot of really good creators, including Maddie, Camille from Lunaire, Maddie's from Hello Naya, if you don't know, and then Sairai, and so many others. There's another mistake. But I have been slowly but surely adding more little paper elements. And when we talk about in my September wrap up, when I show you guys that, you guys will see how intense it is lately with the paper play, if you will. It's been a lot of fun, and I'm really excited to kind of see how this journal ends up looking like at the end of the year with all the different elements that are at play. Because I'm technically, since they're in rings, I've really been able to kind of separate the vertical, weekly, and monthlies from the daily pages. And it's been interesting. I'm really excited to talk to you guys a little bit more about that. Maybe I'll make a designated video for it and kind of explain to you guys what that division is kind of looking like outside of just the general wrap up, because the wrap up ends up being so long and I'm going through so many other things that I can't spend a lot of time specifically on each journal. I will say, and just, little self plug here, if you are interested in seeing kind of like the process that I go through and the pages as I work on them on a weekly basis, I do usually like hour-long weekly updates on my Patreon every single week. And I go through what I did in my journals, and I do little updates of behind the scenes of projects that I'm working on. And then I also talk about all of the notes that I created in the week in my Obsidian. So that is something that I do every single week. So if you're interested in that, then for sure check out the Patreon, because lowest tier to highest tier get access to those weekly updates. And there's printables and the other ones. So yeah, little plug there. I'm very grateful for every single patron that I have. It's thanks to you guys that a lot of this content does get created. So I'm grateful for every single viewer, but there's a special thanks for my patrons. Here I decided that I wanted to do my start and end dates for this mono that I'm talking about. So in comes the media log, my lovely media log. I love it so much, even if sometimes it gives me grief.
I finished it in 3 days. Oh my goodness.
The video will be ending soon, but I did want to ask one question since this is a majorly, well, I'm focusing on my hobonichi cousin here. I did place a hobonichi order for 2026, and I'm not someone who often likes doing unboxings on the main channel. I do some unboxings and hauls on the Patreon, but I don't want that to be the focus of this one. For me, it's a lot about process and not necessarily about the journals that you're in. But I do know that a lot of you, might want to see it. So I wanted to ask if you would let me know if you would like me to post an unboxing when I do finally get my hobonichi order, or if you are through watching the millions of unboxings that have been posted. If enough of you are wanting to see it, then I will. But if not, then I'll just leave that for a small bonus video on the Patreon. But I was curious because, I just don't want to add to all the noise. And like I said, for me, the process is more important on the main channel. But if you guys want to see it, then who am I to not do it? Because, I mean, at the end of the day, it is part of the hobby. And part of the hobby, the fun is getting new stuff. So, yeah, I would love for you to let me know if you could in the comments if that's something that you would be interested in seeing. What I'm thinking I'm going to do is kind of do like a preliminary 2026 lineup because I did get my Jibun Techo days. So maybe I'll just do a mixture of like what I'm thinking for 2026, even though it's definitely too early to say concretely. Knowing me, it's going to change. But let me know, please, if that's something that you'd be interested in watching. Okay, so last thing I did that I failed to record because I didn't realize I was going to do it, I just felt sort of inspired, was to add this kind of ink. I was looking at some of the older pages and a lot of them have ink already like directly on the page, and I've been sort of hesitant to do that lately for some reason, but I decided what the heck, do it. So I just did my regular ink blobs on the sides, and then for this one I used a Prismacolor green color because I knew I wanted to use seaweed, and just kind of lightly wrote out the letters and the form just to know what to follow. And then I just colored it in with my regular pen. I was going to say pen. My watercolor brush. So that is the last thing that I did that I have for this session. I'm going to clean up now because the desk is a bit of a mess. You can't see it, but there's like a bunch of stuff over here. But that was a pretty successful journaling session. It lasted about an hour and a little bit more, probably closer to an hour and a half, which is unusual for me. Usually my journaling sessions, I like to take them to be, I like them to be around the 45-minute mark, up to an hour at most. But I felt inspired, and so yeah, basically that's what I got done today. Thank you so much for watching. I hope that you enjoyed it, and I'll catch you guys in the next video. Bye.